Alhaji Abdmajeed, this argument, this issue came up, I think, on Thursday on this program. And I asked, what does it take for African governments to turn back and say, look, we can't continue like this.
Discipline.
Our people must prosper.
Discipline.
Because Africa is the richest continent on earth.
Thank you.
Really.
Discipline. Lower corruption. Responsible leadership. Focused leadership that is high in integrity and very low, if not bereft of corrupt practices. That's all it takes. If you look at the issue that the CBN was talking about, he said we spent $40 billion in about 10 years, right? For how do you call it? Education, tourism, and health.
Yeah,
healthcare,
health,
whatever.
Yes.
And it sounds so bogus. I started blaming ourselves suddenly, as though people who sought medical care, even those ordinary Nigerians who sought medical care outside, we are committing a crime. The question is, why is Nigeria not having enough liquidity in foreign exchange, enough to support its currency? What are the reasons? It's simple. Nigeria's political leadership is a corrupt, incompetent, lazy, never do well, worst form of leadership anywhere in the world. To the extent that Nigeria cannot even, as a state, as a government, cannot even convert its huge natural resources into wealth because it has insisted that it does not do business. I keep making this point. If you look at China, Dr. Marho made reference to China. China does not float its national currency because it fixes it at a rate that favors its own economy. So when China wants to export, they reduce the value. But don't import, they increase the value of the one. The same day, it doesn't matter to them. At the same time. Now, why is China able to have this enormous power to do what it is doing? China today, as a government, is the second largest businessman in the world. The Chinese government has invested so much in state-owned enterprises that brings in revenue into the coffers. And so today, China is having the largest dollar reserves in the world, $3.2 trillion. The dollar reserve, for a government that insists it doesn't do business. So all your governors and your president are not running one single business, one single enterprise. So our dollar reserves are even in the negative, even though it is still quoted at over $35 billion, but it is said to be negative because if you remove our debts and all our obligations, we are in this.
There's nothing left.
There's nothing left. Because you don't do business. You don't replenish your wealth. How can you have dollar reserves? And you are living. This is the most important one, sir. We are living recklessly as a political leadership. That's why the president's son is so comfortable to tell us to endure. Because he flies the presidential jet to go and watch polo games, to attend weddings, to attend social events, and he drives in a fleet of commerce that is maintained by the state.
And he has never walked anywhere in his life.
And so he can tell me to endure. So yes. His family.
He actually said, "Let us endure."
Let us. So
who is the us?
Who is the us?
Who is the us? When you say "let us endure," do you think I'm part of you? I'm not.
The profligacy.
I have been working all my life. You have never worked in your life. You have been living off state funds. And that even brings me to this question, in line with what Abdmajeed is saying. Our political leadership. We need to begin to interrogate why they don't care about us. I ran up across somebody the other day, about 2 months ago, somebody high in office, and I discovered that this person has 3 passports. He has an American passport. He has a Canadian passport. And of course, the green passport. And my question was, where does his loyalty lies? That is why it's so easy for them to plunder their country and carry to another country. Sorry. Because that's where their loyalty lies. Their loyalty doesn't lie with you and I. Nigeria, as far as they are concerned, can just be like a burial ground. When they die, bring them back home to bury here. But when they want comfort, of course, many of the political leaders you see, they don't have their families here in Nigeria. Many of them, their families are in the UK, the US. Just touch anyone, where's your family? So that's why they can afford to ruin this country for you and I, because their allegiance is not here. And yet, we elect these people into office. In China, when we are talking about China, in China, once you are a Chinese citizen, you are a Chinese citizen for life. You cannot take the citizenship of another country. You are free to, but if you do, you drop your Chinese passport.
Simple.
You can't have dual nationality. Then you have political leaders in your country who have nationalities of 3 countries.
All their children are citizens of other countries.
Of their countries. How can they feel committed
to the country?
To the country and the drive to develop this country? Nigeria is just a place where they come, they plunder and carry and take.
And that is
so, Alhaji, you're talking about. Sorry, Kunle.
Go ahead.
You're talking about reversal of this policy as the only way out of this quagmire.
In the immediate. Yes.
So, how is the president or even the government going to do this? Now, don't forget that even before President Buhari left office, there was a subsidy was not budgeted for in the budget that the president inherited, and I'm sure it is not also part of this budget, even though the IMF is telling us that subsidy is still being paid somehow. So, I don't know how you want to deal with all of this.
Or supplementary budget. Mr. President, send in a supplementary budget now to the National Assembly to get it approved and passed to make provision for source subsidy back to the levels you inherited it. It might sound outlandish. That is the only way out. You know I'm saying this? It is in the interest of the government to do so now. Not because I'm suffering, not because I'm hungry. No. Because even their revenues right now have been reduced in real terms. What government could procure with 1 trillion as at May 28, 2023, it can procure it with even 5 trillion today, given the exchange rate differentials. That is sliding continuously, and the cost of living, or the cost of production that is also increasing, which is driving up inflation. So inflation and foreign exchange differentials have eaten up government revenue. That revenue they wanted to save, it has eaten it up. So it is in their interest to reset the fundamentals. You can't have a productive economy or stability in economy without energy security.
But then the problems we were experiencing will still be there now.
What
so
are the
how would they?
problems?
Yeah, before now, the question was that okay, the money is in few hands. People that are even collecting the subsidy, some of them are not even bringing any product, and they are collecting subsidy.
Nobody was collecting money. No money was in few hands. It was a lie that was told over and over again to convince poor Nigerians that we are doing this to punish some big men, imaginary big men. And you know, you tell a poor man that I'm depriving you of your bread and butter so that big man will not have a cup of tea. He's so happy. They lied to us, they lied to you, they lied to you and I. Did you see any big man complaining about subsidy removal since it was removed? Did you see any oil marketer complaining of subsidy removal? Did you see any of the major oil companies complaining of subsidy removal?
Did you even see anybody being prosecuted
for subsidy fraud?
Have you
NNPC was in charge of subsidy solely as a state enterprise, state-owned enterprise. It was doing under recovery. So who was that imaginary cabal that we are paying money to?
So my question really to you now is, and I'd like both of you to address it.
Yes.
If you're asking for a reversal
Yes.
of the policies, especially subsidy, what are the corollary things that must be done, the attendant things that must be done to ensure that Nigeria does not fall back into that same pit that she found herself? Because everybody talks about, subsidy allows people to buy cheap fuel in Nigeria and export it to neighboring countries. There's round tripping, they bring in ships that don't deliver anything, and they collect papers, put in and collect money from the government. All of that.
You are still.
But don't stress yourself too much. Doctor, before you intervene, because I don't want to lose my mind.
It's the same narrative.
Don't stress yourself. All of these things didn't exist. At the time it existed was under Jonathan, when you had private oil companies bringing in petrol, bringing refined petrol, and then claiming monies. Okay. And so when Jonathan increased fuel price in 2012, and who raised the concern that fight corruption in the system, and not us, the Nigerian people, he instituted a pro panel and started prosecuting people that were involved in this. Under the Buhari administration and what Tinubu inherited, it was direct sale, direct purchase. That is, NNPC will take products, crude, give it to refiners in Europe, and bring back petroleum products. It was a government-to-government thing that had no embellishment of some of these issues. The only reason government is unable to pay subsidies is because they don't want to fulfill their primary responsibility of security of lives and property and national security, which involves energy security. They wanted to abdicate that responsibility. It was too much of a burden for them because it was depriving them of akara and bread that were eating lavishly. They didn't want to give that to you, which you deserve. So they spawned this narrative and created this hula baloo and demonized subsidy. They demonized it. They made it look like it was the problem of Nigeria. It wasn't. We've now seen that its removal has created the real problem. So all of these things didn't exist. It is the problem of government not to be corrupt. Government has an obligation to be zero corrupt. So let them fulfill that obligation. Government has a responsibility to safeguard our borders. The Japanese man does not buy Toyota in Japan at the price that they buy it from Elizabeth in Nigeria, because it's produced in Toyota. You cannot police me, an oil-producing country citizen, and make me buy petrol at the same time cost, because according to you, it's being smuggled to Cameroon and Niger. Is it my responsibility to man the borders of Nigeria? What's your responsibility as government? So they should become government, become responsible, do what they are mandated to do as a government, and give me energy security to be productive, to be able to produce. I drive here on petrol powered vehicle every day to come and do this job where I earn a living from. Do you call that consumption or production?
That's not consumption.
That is production. So anybody who tells you that subsidized petrol is corruption, challenge the person and ask him, do you drink petrol for breakfast? Do you take it for dinner? Do you sell petrol in parties for people to drink and get drunk with petrol? Which petrol to produce? Which petrol to power our homes? Which to power our businesses? So we remove subsidy on it and it became unaffordable. That is the cost of living crisis or cost of existing crisis. You are seeing today that the people are now shouting ebbing power. So restore it back to the levels you met it. Even at 200 naira petrol wasn't affordable in Nigeria. For a country that has 30,000 as minimum wage, it wasn't affordable. But at least take us to where you met us. If you can't take us beyond that, by lowering price of petrol, like Adewale did.
Now, Alhaji, there's a saying in Nigeria that whenever any price of commodity goes up, it doesn't come back again. I don't know.
It's a reality, Nkoli. It's not
whether
the same.
there's a forces of demand and supply that leads to that, or it's something else. Though the fear now is that even if government hits to this, your advice, and reverses this, we may not have the prices of these commodities go back to where we met them.
It may not go entirely to where it will. It's all about productivity. Yes. When you reduce prices, you are encouraging productivity. And when productivity, cost of production, you know, we've talked about inflation. What is driving inflation in the Nigerian economy?
Yes.
It's production. It's cost of production.
Simple.
If the cost of production is too high, what a producer will do is to up the price of his product.
To meet up the cost.
And what is playing out now from my experience, from what I see, producers cannot produce. If they produce at prevailing prices, even the consumer cannot afford it.
Buy it.
Cannot afford it. That is the problem. But once, you know, you, like Mojeed always say, bring the cost of energy to that threshold of affordability, yes, people can afford it. You find out that producers can produce
and consumers can also consume
at a cost that the consumer can afford.
Isn't that what's causing what? Isn't that what's causing what the new national star referred to as shrinkflation?
Exactly.
You know, manufacturers lowering product quality and quantity, yet the prices are up.
Yes, because of the hyperinflation.
The economy is actually shrinking. You know, I was having this debate with somebody yesterday that Nigeria's economy is in relation to government also. You know, we have this illusion of money. It's just an illusion. Nigeria economy, as at 2 years ago, is projected to be about 500 billion. Our GDP, 500 billion US dollars. Largest economy in Africa. If we do a rebasing of our national economy today, go and quote me anywhere, it's now up to 300 billion. The South African economy, the Egyptian economy, has overtaken the Nigerian economy.
In real terms.
In real terms. Even we are now raising show that the president just came from AU summit in Ethiopia. I think our economy, as it is today, will be shoulder to shoulder with that of the Ethiopian economy. We are no longer the largest economy in real terms in Africa as a result of this boneheaded policy of
two policies only of
floating the naira and fuel subsidy removal that has killed the productive capacity of Nigerians.
The productive capacity is really killed, because if all manufacture, even the little things we manufacture in the country, which are edibles, people can no longer manufacture. The bakers are threatening to go on strike. Flour is no longer out of reach for them. Even water makers too, you know, are also complaining.
So policy that has affected everything.
Cement is on the high.
To tell you here over and over again to reverse it.
You reverse it.
You reverse it.
And that is my anger with NLC.
Dr.
That
Marho.
is what NLC
should have demanded from the beginning.
That is what they should be asking for, not increase minimum wage to 200.
Because like
to
you
1
said,
million.
the next time they will meet, probably they will ask for 1 billion as minimum wage.
It doesn't make sense.
Maybe the next meeting will be when dollar is now is 5,000 naira to 5,000 naira to the dollar.
Dr.
So you
Marho,
have 1 billion rand in one way.
You said something in your very first intervention that President Tinubu should resign now.
Yeah, he should.
Which is exactly what the PDP governors have said.
That is my position. See.
But the APC, in today's headlines, has knocked the PDP governors over their call for him to resign. And of course, you know what their argument is. It's been in the news for a few days.
They have said what they are expected to say. That, no, he cannot resign. Since he has been in office for the past 8 years, which of Nigeria's problem has he solved?
8 years?
8 months. Which of Nigerian problem has he solved? Rather, he has compounded all our problems. See, you know, I teach research methods. And when in my first lectures with my students in research, I normally tell them that research forms a circle. It starts when you identify a problem, and you use your research to solve the problem, or you start with raising questions and you use your research to answer those questions. In leadership is about solving problems. When I leave my house every day to go to work, by the time I get back home every day, the first question I ask myself is, which problem did I solve today? As a leader, when you are not able to answer that question, you know you are a failure. Leadership is about solving problems. If in 8 months you've not solved any of Nigeria's problem, or even our regional problem, you've compounded it. Our national problem, you've compounded it. Corruption is on the high. There are instances I want to mention, but I don't think there's time to go into all that. So it's total failure. You came that you want to give us renewed hope, but what we are having is renewed hopelessness, or what Chooks will call renewed shaggy. There's no hope. You know, life has been devalued to the level that Nigerians don't have hope. It's out of frustration that people are coming out and saying a being power, open border, hardship. And like I said earlier in my initial take, I look at the dominant themes in our newspaper. It's all about hardship. It's about hunger. It's about crisis. It's an existential threat. Tinubu's administration, except something dramatic happens, represent an existential threat to all Nigerians if it continues like this.
But there's the thinking that, you know, like you said earlier, all the presidential candidates at the time also touted removal of fuel subsidy and would have done the same thing that the president did. So is it a case of ignorance of what the whole issue you're talking about is all about? Because you said they lied to us, meaning that they didn't know as well, is it?
They were arrogantly ignorant of issues around energy security and afforded all of them, Peter Obi of Labour Party, Atiku Abubakar of PDP, and Tinubu, Adewale Tinubu of APC. I don't take PDP seriously. When they call out the Tinubu government on this issue, I don't take the PDP seriously. I will not take PDP seriously if it comes out today to say, we were also in error, and we have realized that this was not the way to go, and if given the opportunity, we will do it the way we are saying they should do it now. First, we will subsidize energy, petrol, diesel, and gas for home and industrial use. By cutting down on our corruption, we can have enough money to subsidize. That's on one hand. I also expect the PDP as the main opposition to say, look, contrary to what we have been championing since 1999, that government has no business in business, we have realized that indeed, government has business in business, and that the only business of government is to do business, and that any government that cannot do business has no business being in government. I want the PDP to come out like this and start demonstrating that with their own states under their control. That's the only time I take PDP seriously. Otherwise, there is no better way to do a bad thing. I hear PDP saying that if you want to move subsidy, there are certain things you want to put in place. No. Subsidy removal means subsidy removal. And Tinubu did it the way you say you are going to do it. Float of the naira means floating of the naira. I has done it. There was a national consensus on the eve of Tinubu's inauguration.
Even the electorates agreed to that.
You know, I challenged it for all my life. Before, during and after election, I have always challenged this notion. I was not one of those electorates. I said it that we are going to face this problem we are facing now if that is done.
So the message should have been we will deal with those that are doing that are doing corrupt practices within the petroleum sector.
No, the corrupt practices was not the problem of government. Let me tell you this. No. You see, that's why the corruption in subsidy. Government was still paying subsidy. That's why you got petrol at the price you got it.
But the corruption was a problem, really.
No, the corruption was not their problem. The problem was that what that they were paying is their problem. I said this because a corrupt political class cannot problem with corruption if it was not going to benefit the ordinary people. Don't have corruption in procurement. Why have we not abolished procurement in Nigeria? Don't have corruption in the National Assembly, in the executive arm of government, in the judiciary. We have not ended Nigeria. So, because of corruption, let us put an end to Nigeria. But you see, subsidy was such that government was actually paying subsidy. That's why you bought petrol cheaper than you are buying it now, a year ago. So that one that you are paying, that one that we are giving to you was what was paying there. And so people that didn't know anything, that had nothing upstairs, besieged the media space and started trumpeting all manner of malicious and obnoxious narrative against subsidy. And you ask them, where you studied, Harvard you studied, don't they subsidize energy there in the country called the United States of America? Is there no country that there is subsidy? Because it's called energy security. A simple definition of energy security is affordability, accessibility, and affordability of energy products and services. Affordability means government must subsidize. Look, subsidy on energy became a real deal in the 70s. It was because of the Arab-Israeli war. People forget this. When there was this oil embargo against the West by Saudi Arabia, so the cost of energy rose because cost of crude, for the first time, skyrocketed in the international market. In energy production directly, because they need it to be stable, because without that, you have social unrest as we're having today. To what air or oxygen is to the human being, you die, you suffocate within hours without air.
Moji, we are suffocating.
We are suffocating already.
we are dying.
So it's a no-brainer.
We are asphyxiating.
So I think now that this protest has gone to the southwest,
so
it's no longer a question of it's being sponsored, those in government quarters said earlier.
The PDP capacity to sponsor protests. The PDP is one of the most inefficient opposition party in the history of democracy anywhere in the world. So they don't have the capacity to do this. This is spontaneous. This is from the president's own home state. Home region. These are his own people. Is it not instructive that our president is a Yoruba-speaking Nigerian? And the song of protest now against his policies is being power in his own native language. Are you not surprised? It tells you how hard the thing has hit us as a people. It has broken the shackles of tribalism and religious bigotry amongst us. So there are protests in the north, protests in the south. Before, the northerners used to say that protest was haram because one of them was in power. It's now halal. Because the hunger knows no tribe or religion. This level of hunger. So it is a serious issue. Energy security will cause social unrest, will cause national insecurity. If you don't secure it, it's as simple as that. Now, and
that seems to be what the AFDB is saying now to Nigeria
and
some other countries.
But the president was one who helped to push us into this problem. So it's not enough for these institutions to come out and now say, was
he also ignorant, or was there a reason for that?
I call it arrogance of ignorance of our intelligentsia class in Nigeria. They arrogantly and ignorantly trumpeted remove subsidy flow the naira. And some of us were saying it's common sense economics to say, look, no currency should be subjected to market forces. No. And we know the problem of the naira. Beyond productivity, it is the activities of PEPs in power. The volume of naira that they take to build these things to convert as a store of value, because the denomination now, the currency of corrupt transaction in Nigeria is dollar today. You saw the video of a governor. Let me give you this class example of a governor of the Northwest, who today is the chairman of the ruling political party. You saw a video of him
stuffing dollar in his car.
He was talking to a contractor who was actually tying those dollar returns to specific projects. This is the problem of the dollar against the naira. This is the real problem. Because importation has actually dropped. So many people that actually need legitimate dollar for importation are no longer demanding for it because they can't even cope. So who are the people now putting so much pressure on the naira? If not PEPs, who have monetary allocation in billions of naira. So a government that refuses to fight corruption, we've said it here severally.
In fact, I don't know if you read
a
report. There was a report in Business Day last week. They did an analysis over a period of time. And what they discovered is that once there's FAC allocation,
the value of the naira drops.
The value of the naira drop. because there's increased demand for dollar.
For the dollar.
It's simple. What that tells you is that immediately most of these governors receive their FAC allocation, they call their BDCA operators and mop up all the dollar in the market.
So shouldn't the people be calling on their governors out now, rather than even the president?
And there's somebody who has the duty. Let me tell him. People have had this argument and I say no. This is a very mundane argument.
But they are the ones that come
The
to collect
president
the
has the
allocation.
mentality to whip governors in line. How has he done it? Through the FCC and ICPC. Through even the police force. How has he done it? How has he called meetings of his own party members and go to say, stop this, enough is enough?
Obasanjo was able to do
this.
But he had a meeting with the governors
and they told him that they told him they needed state police. That's all. So how has he been able to rein in even the governors of the APC to say, look, we want about to be a model.
Even Mr. President,
for others to follow.
Is it not surprising? The federal government wanted to institute a 37 to tell you, you don't, at times you want to find out how does the country run. The federal government wanted to, through the office of the secretary to the government of the federation, wanted to set up a 37-man panel on wage increase and negotiation with the NLC. The secretary to the government of the federation raised a memo demanding for, how much again? 1.8 billion.
1 billion.
Is it 1 billion?
1 billion.
1 billion.
It was originally
1.8.
Okay.
So the SGF, in his wisdom, in his modesty, cut it to 1 billion.
Just to inaugurate a committee. And the question I am asking, why should that memo, what kind of administration are we running that memo should go to the desk of Mr. President for approval? Is the president of a country supposed to be an approving authority for such expenditure? Not even minding the humongous expenditure, because at the end of the day, the president gave him, go and manage this 500 million to inaugurate a committee. These are some of the issues within governance that the president himself seems to be condoning rather than cautioning. And if he seems to be condoning it, what moral justification does he have to call his party members to order and say, look, as elite, let's build consensus. Let's change the system.
Let's change the system.
That's the narrative we want to
class
see.
Suicide.
That's the narrative, but we are not seeing it. There's no movement.
Look at your state.
The primary.
APC group called the primary that was without rancor. If a group of politicians don't manage their own party affair just to drop a candidate, how can they manage states of the federation or the central government? That is where it starts from. The corruption you see in government starts from the political party level, and the president is the leader of the party. Have we seen a change in the way the APC operates under his leadership enough to say, okay, he's willing to use instrumentality of the federal government to now whip some governors in line? Look, all this transition I'm talking about is the government knows. It's not hidden. Nobody is willing to do it about it because it's the culture of politicians.
The government knows.
All right, gentlemen. We have to go. Even though this is an extended version of the newspaper review, but at least it gave you opportunity to nail these matters, speak to the issues as you really wanted to. We must thank you, gentlemen, for your time with us. Always insightful listening to you. Alhaji Abdmajeed Dahiru and Dr. Austin Marho have both joined us on the newspaper review for today. Do have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing so you won't miss out any of our latest videos.